Most dating advice tells men how to get women. I think that's the wrong question. The better question is, why are you trying so hard to get somebody that doesn't want you? Now, before anybody gets mad, I'm not saying attraction doesn't matter. I'm not saying standards don't matter. And I'm definitely not saying you should settle. What I am saying is that a lot of men spend years trying to convince women to choose them instead of paying attention to the feedback they're already getting. If she doesn't text back, if she doesn't make time, if she keeps choosing somebody else, that's feedback. And the funny thing is, most men already know what it looks like when a woman actually likes them. The behavior is completely different. She answers, she initiates, she makes time. You don't have to wonder where you stand. So in this video, I want to talk about 3 things. Why what people say they want isn't always what they respond to. Why dating is a lot like a market. And why men should date women who choose them. Everybody has standards. Men have standards, women have standards. That's completely normal. The problem starts when your standards and reality don't match. That's where people get into trouble.
Let's use a house as an example. Imagine Zillow says your house is worth $1 million. Maybe it's appraised at $1 million. Maybe you genuinely believe it's worth $1 million. All of that might be true. Then you put it on the market, and nobody buys it. Now, you have feedback. Not judgment. Feedback. Maybe people can't qualify. Maybe they don't like the location. Maybe there aren't enough buyers. Whatever the reason is, the market is telling you something. And at that point, you have a choice. You can leave the price where it is and wait. Or you can lower the price. Dating works the same way. You can have whatever standards you want. The market doesn't care. The only thing that matters is whether the people you want are choosing you back. That's reality. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions in dating is that your standards somehow matter to other people.
They don't. Now, before somebody clips that out of context, let me explain. You should absolutely have standards. You should have boundaries. You should know what you're looking for. But nobody else has to care. Dating isn't just a list of demands. It's an exchange of value. And the people who do best in dating are usually the people who understand that. Now, before somebody says, easy for you to say, let's talk about looks.
Because I think a lot of dating advice gets weird here. Some people act like looks are everything. Other people act like looks don't matter at all. Neither of those is true. Looks matter. Of course they matter. If you're attractive, you have advantages. Just like being tall gives you advantages. Just like being wealthy gives you advantages. Pretending otherwise is ridiculous. But here's what I've noticed. Looks might get somebody's attention. They don't automatically keep it. Because once attraction gets you through the door, a whole different set of traits start mattering. Can you hold a conversation? Can you make somebody laugh? Can you make people comfortable around you? Do people enjoy being around you? Do you have confidence? Do you have direction? Do you have a personality beyond your appearance? Because that's where a lot of people get separated. I've seen average-looking men date women that most people would consider out of their league. And I think that's especially true for men. Women generally evaluate men across a wider range of qualities than men evaluate women. That doesn't mean looks don't matter. It means they're not the entire story. And if you're being honest with yourself, that's actually good news. Because most of those other qualities can be improved. I think one of the reasons so many men struggle with dating is because they're trying to solve the wrong problem. They're constantly asking, what do women want? And honestly, I don't think that's the right question. Because if you ask 10 women what they want, you'll probably get 10 different answers. And even then, what people say they want and what they actually respond to aren't always the same thing. Men do this too. We all do. That's why I pay more attention to behavior than words. Behavior is honest. Behavior tells you what somebody values. Behavior tells you who they're excited about. Behavior tells you where you stand. And I think a lot of men ignore that feedback because they don't like the answer. Instead of asking, why isn't she interested? They ask, how do I make her interested? Those are 2 completely different questions. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. The second thing I see is that men put women on a pedestal. They'll spend hours watching dating videos, studying attraction, learning text messages, learning openers, trying to figure out what to say. Meanwhile, they're uncomfortable talking to people in general. My advice is actually much simpler. Talk to everybody. Talk to old people, talk to young people, talk to the cashier, Talk to your neighbors.
Learn how to have conversations without expecting anything from them. Because when you're comfortable talking to people, you're usually comfortable talking to women. And when you're comfortable talking to women, you're not treating every attractive woman like she's some once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You're just talking to another person. One thing that helped me a lot was learning how to compliment people without expecting anything in return.
A lot of guys see an attractive woman and immediately start thinking about the outcome. What should I say? Will she like me? Will I get her number? Will she talk to me? That's a lot of pressure. Instead, try something different. If somebody has a beautiful dress on, tell them. If somebody looks like they put effort into something, acknowledge it. Then move on with your day. After you compliment somebody, don't stand there waiting for a reward. Don't expect a conversation. Don't expect a phone number. Don't expect anything. Because appreciation and possession are not the same thing. If I walk by a beautiful flower, I can appreciate that it's beautiful. I don't have to pick it. I don't have to own it. I can simply appreciate it and continue walking. And I think a lot of men would become more comfortable around women if they stopped treating every interaction as an opportunity and started treating people like people. I remember dating somebody that I genuinely liked. We went out, we spent time together. Things were going well. Then eventually she told me she wanted to see where things went with somebody else. And honestly, that's her choice.
Later on, I would still send a message every once in a while, trying to make her laugh, trying to be friendly. But eventually it became obvious that the interest wasn't there. And I think this is where a lot of men get into trouble. They start asking how to convince somebody, how to win them over, how to change their mind. I've never really looked at it that way, because people get to choose. They don't owe me an explanation. They don't owe me a relationship. They don't owe me attraction. Just like an employer gets to choose who they hire. Just like I get to choose who I date. People get to choose. And once you accept that, dating becomes a lot less frustrating. Because instead of trying to force a door open, you start looking for doors that are already open. That's why I've always believed that men should date women who choose them. Not because attraction doesn't matter, not because standards don't matter, but because when somebody genuinely wants to be with you, the entire experience feels different. The games disappear. The confusion disappears. The constant guessing disappears. You don't have to convince them. They're already on your side.
And maybe that's the biggest lesson I've learned about dating. Not everybody is going to want you. And that's okay. There are people I wouldn't date. There are people who wouldn't date me. That's not rejection. That's choice. The goal isn't to convince everybody to like you. The goal is to find the people who already do. And when you find someone who genuinely wants to be around you, you'll notice something interesting. You don't spend your time wondering where you stand. You don't spend your time decoding text messages. You don't spend your time trying to earn their attention. Because people who choose you tend to make that choice pretty clear. Most dating advice teaches men how to get women. I think the better lesson is learning how to recognize when somebody already wants you. Stop trying to force closed doors open. Start paying attention to the doors that are already open. You'll save yourself a lot of time. You'll save yourself a lot of frustration. And you'll probably end up with better relationships too.
And if dating is a market and people get to choose, then the obvious next question is, how do you become somebody that more people choose? We'll talk about that next time. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.